I was half awake. That in-between place where you're not dreaming, but you're not really in your body yet either. At first, I thought it was the wind. Or maybe a noise from outside. But then I heard it again, whispers. Faint. Like someone trying not to wake me up. My heart kicked up fast. I stayed still, listening, eyes open now but afraid to move. There was a low glow under the bedroom door. Someone was up. Sylvia? I checked the time. 2:37 a.m. That sick feeling settled in my stomach. You know the one. Where your chest tightens but you can't explain why. Where something just feels off, and your body knows before your mind catches up. Her phone buzzed earlier that evening, but she said it was a work thing. She laughed too hard at dinner. Touched my arm like she was trying too hard to remember how it used to feel. I didn't want to be that person. The one who checks. The one who assumes the worst. So I rolled over and tried to sleep. And now here I am. Awake. Listening to her voice in the dark. Talking to someone. I got up. Slowly. Quietly. Barefoot, heart racing. Every step toward the door felt like walking toward something I already knew, but couldn't accept yet. And then I saw it. I saw them. Right there. In our living room. While I was supposed to be asleep. The whispers. The phone lights up. The silence that followed, I knew something was wrong. But I didn't expect to see this in my own living room. Before we go deeper, this story deals with betrayal, emotional trauma, and the unraveling of trust in a relationship. If those themes are difficult for you, you might want to skip this one. It's raw. It's personal. And it's not easy to talk about. But it's real. I was half awake. That in-between place where you're not dreaming, but you're not really in your body yet either. Before that night, if you had asked me about my relationship, I would have said it was steady. Not perfect, but solid. We had routines. Patterns. A rhythm that felt like home. Sylvia and I woke up at the same time every day. She always set her alarm 5 minutes before mine. Just so she could turn toward me, wrap her arm around my chest, and steal a moment. It was something so small, but I held on to it like it meant everything. My name is McCoy Casey. I am the guy who believes in staying. In working through things. In showing up. I am not flashy. I do not play games. I double text when I am worried, cook when I can, and always remember the date we met. I believed in loyalty like it was a rule written into my bones. Sylvia had this calm about her. She did not demand attention, but people noticed her. She was smart, kept lists for everything, and always had a plan. Her closet was organized by color. Her calendar, color-coded. But then she would laugh loud, sudden, like it had been building up in her chest. It made people look twice. It made me fall harder. Our life worked. At least, it seemed to. Mornings were for coffee and wordless glances. Evenings were playlists in the car and bickering over where to eat. Sundays were for folding laundry while watching shows neither of us really liked. She always left the last bite for me. I thought that was love. The kind you live in quietly, not the kind you post about. She used to send me memes during meetings. Dumb ones. Bad puns. Dogs wearing sunglasses. I would be sitting in some lifeless office, pretending to listen to my boss, and then my phone would light up with her message. I would smile and shake my head, already feeling better just because she thought of me. But slowly, things began to shift. It was not loud. It was not obvious. It was like a draft you do not notice until you are already shivering. Her laughter faded. She started turning away when I spoke. Her eyes found her phone more than they found me. She said work was getting hectic. More clients. More deadlines. I did not want to doubt her. I wanted to believe stress was the reason she started coming home late. That her silence meant exhaustion, not distance. She said she was tired, and I believed her. I told myself not to overthink it. Everyone gets busy. Everyone needs space. I reminded myself that real relationships go through phases, and that this was just one of them. Still, something felt off. Some nights she would come in, drop her bag, kiss me on the cheek, and disappear into the shower before I could even ask about her day. I stopped getting goodnight texts when she worked late. Her phone had a new passcode. She said it was for work security. That made sense. I nodded. I let it go. But then there were other things. Like the way she tilted her screen away when I walked by. Or how she would pause for a second too long when I asked who she was texting. One night, she told me it was her friend Kelly, complaining about her boyfriend again. I believed that too. I thought I was just being insecure. So I bought flowers. Randomly. Just because. I tried to talk more. To cook more. To fix what I did not even understand was broken. She smiled and said thank you. But it was a smile that felt tired. Like it cost her something. The silence between us grew thicker. Not angry silence. Just empty. Like two people on opposite ends of a room, pretending they are still close. We stopped laughing during dinner. Our shows played in the background, but neither of us paid attention. She was on her phone. I was staring at her. Trying to figure out when she had stopped looking at me like I was hers. We had people fooled. The selfies. The filters. The matching outfits at her sister's wedding. Strangers left comments calling us goals. I did not correct them. I needed to believe the lie too. The truth was too heavy to carry yet. I was not ready to face it. Not then. There's a specific kind of silence that lives in the space between knowing and admitting. I lived in that silence for weeks. Maybe longer. I kept telling myself everything was fine, that Sylvia just needed time. I tried not to take it personally when she stayed late at work, or when she chose to sleep with her back turned to me, or when she started wearing perfume to the office even though she never used to. She said she wanted to feel more confident. I told her she already looked perfect. She smiled. But it was the kind of smile that felt like a door closing. The excuses were gentle at first. Casual. Harmless. Just drinks after work. Just a quick meeting. Just catching up with some old friends. The word just started to feel like a shield. I heard it so many times it started to lose meaning. She always said it in that same light tone, like I was being silly for even noticing how often she was gone. One night, she came home with this nervous energy around her. She said her friend Zelda had gone through a breakup and needed a drink. She laughed as she told me how Zelda had made a scene at the bar, knocking over a glass of wine in front of some poor guy in a suit. Sylvia laughed a lot during that story. Too much. The kind of laugh that covers something else underneath. I caught her checking her phone right after. She smiled again, just slightly, and locked the screen when she noticed me watching. She never used to do that. We used to show each other memes, bad tweets, old photos from our early days. Now she held her phone like it was something sacred. Like I did not have the right to see what made her laugh anymore. I tried to keep my voice steady when I asked about her night. I didn't want to sound accusing. She talked fast, gave too many details, and yet somehow said nothing at all. I nodded and smiled, playing along, pretending I believed every word. That was the night I first heard the name Jeremiah. She mentioned him casually, like it was no big deal. Just another person at her office. He helped on a campaign. He had a good eye for copy. He reminded her of someone from college. That kind of thing. She said he was funny. Thoughtful. Smart. I felt the way she said his name. Not just the sound of it. The ease of it. The way her voice softened a little. The way her eyes did not meet mine after she said it. Jeremiah Moreno. I stored that name in the back of my mind like a loose thread I was not ready to pull. I started noticing things I did not want to notice. New clothes. Subtle makeup when she left the house, none when she stayed in. She kept her phone face down on the table, or worse, took it with her into the bathroom. I told myself I was being ridiculous. That I was reading too much into it. That I was imagining everything because I was scared of losing her. And that was the worst part, not the suspicion itself, but the fact that I began to question my own ability to know what was real. Was I going crazy? Or was I finally seeing the truth? I started checking the clock when she was out. Watching the minutes crawl by. She said she would be home by 10. Then 10:30. 11. I would hear her key in the lock, and for a moment I would feel relief. But that feeling would be swallowed by another, this tight, unfamiliar one. Dread. She would walk in like nothing was wrong. Drop her bag, kiss my cheek, talk about how exhausting the day was. Sometimes she would be overly affectionate. Sit next to me, rest her head on my shoulder, play with my hand. The old her. But only in pieces. Like a memory trying to pretend it still belonged here. One night she was talking about work again, and her phone lit up. I saw his name. Jeremiah. Just for a second. Just long enough to know I was not imagining anything anymore. I did not ask. I stayed quiet. And that silence started eating at me. There were so many moments I could have said something. I could have asked her. I could have asked where she really was, who she was texting, why I had started to feel like a stranger in my own relationship. But I did not want to know the answer. So I waited. I watched. I tried to act normal. To anyone else, we still looked happy. She still posted about me. Still tagged me in old couple photos. Still told people we were good. And maybe I could have kept pretending too. But something shifted. That night, something felt different. Her kiss felt like an apology. That night, I tried to sleep. I really tried. But sleep doesn't come easy when your heart is holding its breath. Sylvia had come home late again. Not the latest she'd ever been, but she looked different. Not in a way most people would catch. It was the little things. The lightness in her voice, the fact that she didn't offer an explanation, didn't try to cover her tracks. She just walked in, kissed me gently, told me she was going to shower, and disappeared into the bathroom. She left her phone on the counter. Face down. I stared at it for what felt like hours. My hand almost reached for it. But I didn't touch it. I couldn't. I already knew whatever was inside that screen would change everything. And once you see the truth, you don't get to unsee it. We got into bed like normal. She rolled over, back to me, and I stared up at the ceiling. There were no words. Just the soft sound of her breath, the low hum of the fridge down the hall, and my thoughts, loud, sharp, exhausting. I closed my eyes and tried to let go. My body gave in before my mind did. Somewhere in the middle of that haze between sleep and wakefulness, I started to dream. At least I think I did. It felt like I was watching our life play out on some old projector, out of focus, flickering on the wall of my mind. There was a hallway in the dream. Long, dimly lit. I was walking down it, slow. Each door I passed had a sound behind it, her laughter, the chime of her phone, a man's voice I didn't recognize. My hands felt heavy. I reached for a door, and just as I touched the handle, I heard it. Whispers. Soft. Close. Too real to be part of the dream. My eyes opened. At first, I wasn't sure if I was still asleep. I stared into the dark, not moving. The room was quiet, but not silent. There was a low murmur. A voice. Maybe two. I sat up slowly. Hold my breath. Listened. One voice was hers. I turned to her side of the bed. It was empty. A cold wave ran through me. My mouth went dry. I looked at the clock. 2:39 a.m. I got out of bed like a ghost. Quiet. Careful. Every step felt like walking toward a cliff I didn't want to fall from, but couldn't stop myself. The hallway felt longer than usual. The glow from the living room bled under the doorframe, faint but steady. I moved closer, footsteps soft against the floor. And then I heard him. A man's voice. Calm. Confidence. Familiar, even though I had never really heard it before. He said, "He's asleep. Don't worry." I didn't breathe. I didn't blink. I pushed the door open just enough to see. There they were. Sylvia was on the couch. Blanket over her legs. Hair still damp from the shower. Her body turned slightly toward him, posture relaxed in that way people are only with someone they feel safe around. Jeremiah sat next to her. Not close enough to touch, not yet. But close enough that the air between them felt shared. She laughed at something he said. Not loud. Not exaggerated. Just a quiet, real laugh. The kind I hadn't heard in weeks. Then she reached out and brushed something off his shirt. It was nothing. And it was everything. The back of her hand grazed his arm as she pulled away. My stomach dropped. My throat burned. I wanted to scream. I wanted to run. I wanted to walk in and make them both see what they had just done. But I couldn't move. I was frozen in that moment, standing in the shadows of my own home, watching the woman I loved give pieces of herself to someone else. In that moment, I stopped being the man she loved and became the man she lied to. I don't know how long I stood there. Maybe it was seconds. Maybe longer. Everything slowed. The edges of the room blurred. All I could hear was my own heartbeat pounding in my ears. Then Sylvia saw me. Her smile dropped. The room fell silent. I stepped forward. The room fell silent. Jeremiah bolted. And Sylvia, she just stared. She just stared at me. No words. No excuses. Just wide eyes and a hand still hanging in the air like it hadn't realized yet it was supposed to fall. Jeremiah moved fast. He stood, grabbed his jacket without looking back, and slipped past me like I was invisible. His steps were fast, heavy, the door opening and closing behind him with a soft but final click. And then it was just us. Just Sylvia and me. And the silence she had been building for months. She opened her mouth, tried to speak, but nothing came out at first. Then came the stammering. A string of half-sentences. I didn't mean for you to see it like that. It's not what it looks like. I just needed someone to talk to. Her voice was shaking, like someone caught in a lie and still scrambling to believe it themselves. She kept reaching for the right thing to say, but nothing fit. Nothing could. I didn't say a word. My body was still, but my mind was burning. I wasn't angry yet. I wasn't sad. I wasn't anything. I felt hollow. Like I was floating outside myself, watching two people I used to know go through the worst night of their lives. And in that hollow space, my brain started playing tricks on me. I saw flashes of her in better times, laughing in the passenger seat of my car with her feet on the dash, holding my hand in the supermarket while we debated between brands of cereal, brushing her teeth while dancing to music through her AirPods. All those quiet, beautiful moments we never thought to write down. They just lived inside me. And now they burned. She tried again. Her voice was louder this time, defensive, as if raising the volume could change what had happened. She said she felt alone. That she had been trying to reach me, but I was always distracted. That I had grown distant. That we stopped talking, stopped listening, stopped being us. I kept my eyes on her. I didn't nod. I didn't flinch. I let her speak. I let her fill the room with her reasons. Her explanations. Her rewriting of the story. But all I said was one thing. One question. How long? That broke her. I could see it in her shoulders first. The way they dropped. Like she had been holding up a lie for so long that her body forgot how to stand without it. Her face crumbled. She sat back down, her hands in her lap like she was trying to hold something together. She said it started months ago. That Jeremiah was just someone who listened. That it wasn't about love. It was about escape. About feeling like someone saw her again. About being wanted. And it hurt, hearing that. Not because I didn't understand the words, but because I did. She said she never planned for it to become anything. That it just happened. That she hated herself for it. Every time she looked at me, she felt sick with guilt. I gave her everything. Maybe that was the problem. Maybe I should have kept some for myself. All I could think about was the version of myself I had been with her. Soft. Open. Loyal. I had turned myself inside out trying to make things work. I had forgiven things I shouldn't have. I had explained away silences that should have been questioned. I thought that loving her hard enough would keep her from breaking us. But love doesn't work like that. Not when it's only going one way. She said she didn't want to lose me. That she still loved me. That she made a mistake. I looked at her then. Really looked at her. And I realized she wasn't mine anymore. Maybe she hadn't been for a long time. She was still in my house. Still in my life. But not in my corner. Not in my heart. Not in the way that mattered. I told her to leave. There was no yelling. No name calling. No dramatic scenes. Just a quiet sentence that sat in the air like smoke. She looked shocked at first. Like she didn't expect that from me. Like she thought there was still something she could say to fix it. But there wasn't. Not this time. She gathered her things slowly. Like moving slower would somehow pause reality. I didn't watch her pack. I just sat on the edge of the bed with my head in my hands, trying to understand how the person I woke up next to that morning could feel like a stranger by night. And just like that, the person I thought I'd marry became a stranger with my house key. After she left, the house didn't feel empty. It felt loud. Everything echoed. The walls, the floor, even the couch cushions seemed to carry her weight like they weren't ready to let go. Her coffee mug was still in the sink. Her perfume still hung in the hallway. Her shoes by the door didn't look like they were gone, they looked like they were coming back. I didn't need much those first few days. I wasn't hungry. I would open the fridge, stare at a half-used bottle of almond milk, and close it again like I just remembered I had no use for food. The mornings were the worst. That tiny moment between waking and remembering. When your body still thinks life is normal, before your brain kicks in and punches you in the chest with the truth. The images played over and over in my head. Her hand brushed his arm. His voice whispering he's asleep. The way she looked at me like I wasn't supposed to be there. I replayed it like a movie I hated but couldn't stop watching. It was worse at night, when the silence wrapped around everything and I could hear every sound the house made. I used to love this place. Now it just sounded like heartbreak. Leah Murphy came by the second day. She didn't ask questions. She just sat on the floor with me while I stared at nothing. She brought me takeout I didn't touch and a blanket I didn't need. Zane Hayden texted me later that night. Something short. No deep words. Just checking in. Are you good? I didn't reply right away. Not because I didn't care. I just didn't know what to say. What do you even say when everything you thought was true turns out to be a lie? I started journaling on the fourth night. Just words at first. Short phrases. Her name. The date. The time. I didn't write for clarity. I wrote to get the weight out of my chest and onto paper. My handwriting looked different. Shaky. Like it didn't belong to me. But I kept going. Every night. A few lines here, a few lines there. It helped. Not enough to heal me, but enough to keep me from drowning. I went to therapy once. I didn't say much. The therapist asked about trust and betrayal and whether I wanted to forgive. I didn't know how to answer. I still don't. But it felt good to sit in a room where I didn't have to pretend I was okay. Then came the worst part. The confirmation. I found out Sylvia had been talking to Jeremiah for longer than she admitted. Months. Not weeks. Months. I saw the messages by accident and old backup on our shared cloud. Nothing explicit. Nothing you could print out and call evidence. But the tone was clear. The emotional closeness. The way she talked to him about her day, her stress, her dreams. Things she used to say to me. That was the part that gutted me. She had given him my spot. It wasn't just the couch or the late-night talks. It was an emotional space. The part of her that used to be mine, the thoughts she whispered to me before sleep, the rants about her job, the random what-if questions at midnight, all of it had been rerouted. Given away without warning. I deleted everything after that. The photos. The shared playlists. Our favorite Spotify mixes called us in August. The folder of texts I used to reread on bad days. All of it. Gone. Not because I wanted to forget. But because I couldn't carry it anymore. And this might sound strange, but I didn't cry during any of that. I didn't scream. I didn't break anything. I just sat there in the glow of the screen, watching memories vanish. And I felt something shift inside me. Not healing. Not yet. But the beginning of release. I think people expect healing to look like strength. Smiling again. Going out. Posting motivational quotes. But healing doesn't look like forgetting. It looks like remembering without pain. I'm not there yet. Not even close. But I can see the road now. To anyone listening, trust your instincts. Please. If something feels wrong, it probably is. Emotional cheating is still cheating. And if someone starts giving pieces of themselves to someone else, you are not crazy for noticing. You are not wrong for asking questions. Don't silence your suspicions just because you love them. That silence can cost you more than the truth ever will. Time doesn't heal everything. That's a lie people tell you so they can change the subject. But time does something else. It clears the fog. It softens the edges. It gives you enough space between the pain and the present so you can start to see things as they are, not as you wished they'd be. I'm not bitter. That surprised me. I thought I would be. I thought I would carry that kind of anger forever. But I don't. Not anymore. Anger is exhausting. And I've already lost too much sleep. What I feel now is caution. I question more. I listen harder. I don't give people the benefit of the doubt just because I want them to be good. That doesn't make me cold. It makes me honest. I've started running again. Not far and not fast. But enough to feel my body again. Enough to feel present. The first time I laced up my shoes, I almost cried. Not from sadness, but because it had been so long since I did something just for me. No one to impress. No one to take a photo. Just movement. Just breathe. I've been reading more too. Mostly fiction. Stories where people mess up but still find their way back. I like those. They don't promise perfection. Just possibility. A few weeks ago, I got a message from someone I hadn't talked to in years. Nia Moon. We went to high school together. She saw one of my old posts, something vague I had written during the worst part of everything, and she reached out. No pressure. No awkward energy. Just a hey, I've been there too. We got coffee. Talked for hours. It wasn't romantic. Not yet. Maybe not ever. But it felt good to sit across from someone and be real. To tell the truth and not feel embarrassed by it. I'm not ready to fall in love again. But I'm also not closed off. I know now that love isn't supposed to feel like guessing games. It's supposed to feel like peace. Like home. And if I ever find it again, I'll know what not to ignore this time. I still think about Sylvia sometimes. Not every day. But enough. There are places I still avoid. Songs I still skip. But I don't hate her. Hating her would mean I was still holding her in some way. And I've let go. She taught me a hard lesson. One I didn't ask for. One I wouldn't wish on anyone. But I'm here. I survived it. And I'm better for it. I caught my partner cheating while I was asleep. But now, I sleep peacefully because I'm finally awake. If you've listened all the way through, thank you. I know this wasn't easy to hear. It wasn't easy to tell either. But maybe that's the point. Maybe stories like this are supposed to be uncomfortable. Because that's how we grow. That's how we remember we're not alone. Have you ever ignored a red flag because of love? Have you ever told yourself it was just a rough patch when deep down you knew it was more than that? I did. And I wish I had trusted that quiet voice in my gut sooner. If this story reminded you of something you've been through, or something you're still trying to survive, you're not alone. Drop a black heart if you've ever been through heartbreak and survived. I'll be reading every single one. Every story matters. Every voice deserves to be heard. And if no one's told you lately, let me say this clearly: you're not stupid for loving them. You're human. You gave someone your trust. You gave them your time, your heart, your future. And they didn't handle it with care. That doesn't make you weak. That makes you brave. I told this story not because I want sympathy, but because I know how lonely it feels when something like this happens, and all you want is to hear someone else say, "Me too." So if you need to hear it, me too.